Yeah, there are more people here than me. I agree, yeah.
You do agree. We thank you so much.
I'm very
Please,
intelligent
first question.
So here you are after the conference with Miles and Harald. Gentlemen, what do you think about today's conference in Warsaw? Was it okay for you to come here? And are you glad that you came here?
I think it's outstanding. You have a wonderful team of people here, and it is really rewarding to see such an amazing response from the ordinary everyday folk. Very intelligent, very switched on.
Did you meet some interesting people today?
Quite a few, yes. And I think we will keep in contact with a few of them.
Were you surprised in some way?
There was one surprising moment, really surprising, when I focused on the feelable pain within Warsaw as a city from the destruction of World War II. And I thought it would be the same as in Germany, that people live in these new rebuilt cities and are not connected to the pain that actually I can feel when I cross the city. And everybody in the room was like, no, we do feel that as well. And this is a state of awareness on heart level that I'm not used to in Germany. And this is something I really love. It's rare. I haven't seen it in other countries. So from now on, the Polish have left a good impression.
You have a lot of sensitivity. When it started in yourself to feel like this, to be so sensitive for everything what's around?
Oh, that was a long process. I've been brought up in early childhood without real borders, so this is where the empathy comes from, but also the disability of feeling the border in the sense of not knowing what do I feel. I could feel everybody. I go into a pub and I feel 15 tables with all the drama going on there at one go, and it took quite a few years to learn to first distinguish what is me, what is somebody else, and then to really feel the real core of myself.
So you feel morphogenic field?
I feel emotions mainly. This is what you call empathy. Mm-hmm. But it's not easy to handle because of the things going on this planet are not really beautiful.
But you mentioned that you are able to remember your previous incarnations.
Yes, some of them. This is something that pops up when you meet people you have shared these previous incarnations with. And then it's like one has a slight memory of something, gives a picture, and then picture pops up.
Déjà vu? Déjà vu?
No, more like real memory.
So you can remember names even from your previous names?
Yes, also.
Unbelievable.
Not always, but some of them, yes.
Miles, how did you meet Harald?
Well, I was involved with some interviews with some people, and you were co-author with Cara, and it was fantastic at that time to get people together. And I was holding a conference for Antoine Gigal from France, and she had a very severe fall. She's a brilliant French archaeologist in the pyramids, and she has a unique look into that, and is very, very tremendous. One of the greatest geniuses in the field, and is aware of the pyramids and the second Sphinx, and how the Egyptians didn't actually build them and a lot of very highly detailed stuff. I had a conference organized for that, but she fell ill and very badly, and she needed an operation. So I had a venue, but I didn't have any people as such. So I was able to have Cara and Harald at my magnificent conference. But 2 days before the conference, the venue fell through because the people who were organizing the venue, the person concerned got married, and she was away for 3 weeks, and she forgot about it. So then I had a situation where I had a venue with no speakers, and then now I had a situation with speakers but no venue. Mm. So this is when we ended up assembling in a small village hall in Crop Circle country in Wiltshire, and we had what was called a micro conference because we had 10 people or less. But the important thing was that it was a venue which we could, because it shot for television, it was a venue which allowed Harald to discuss what he had to say. And also I'd had Harald over initially, and we did quite a long basis.
Yeah, 3 hours.
Yes, and you had travelled through Switzerland to Frankfurt, flown straight over, bought a new pair of shoes in Marlborough, which I thought was the most important thing we had to do. These are the Marlborough crop circle, secret alien interdimensional crop circle shoes. And
some information imprinted in those shoes.
yes. And I was very, very impressed at your stamina and ability to come up with such intense information.
Were you surprised when you heard his story at the beginning?
It wasn't a surprise. It wasn't unexpected, but when you hear it, I could recognize with it. I think it's called resonating with that information. And it was a unique ability to get a different angle on this substance, because there's nothing written down about the black goo. There's only, I think, an article in Nexus magazine about the Gulf oil spill. And my personal experience with black goo was a black energetic substance in the transmitters, which I would get secondhand or when I built pirate radio. And the stuff that was in these transmitters, to me, when I looked at it, looked as if this stuff had been dropped in crude oil, in black oil. Now, whether that has got any connection with the black goo or whether it's some other form of black energetic substance has to be really ironed out. But it meant that the transmitters wouldn't work as a pirate transmitter, and I had to remove this stuff, I had to get rid of it. But there was a situation where a transmitter, which I won't go into too much detail, this transmitter had been on a BBC transmitter site, but had previously been a pirate radio transmitter.
How they can imprint the black goo, the bad?
Well, this is, I don't know,
this
but this
signal.
is common to anything from the existing broadcasters. And I even took the panel off this transmitter, and it's as if this black stuff just fell right out of it.
Unbelievable.
But when I communicated that to a friend of mine, she picked up on it. She felt it. Whatever this stuff was at the other end of the telephone, she just felt the horror of whatever it was. And this is stuff that's coming out of BBC transmitters. Now, James Casbolt, who's somebody I also interviewed, who's a super soldier, he described how you could see this black stuff coming from these transmitters. And he's the only other person that had seen what I had seen. But when we were on pirate radio, we were transmitting light, we were transmitting a positive.
So probably this is information, right? Just the information came through the transmitter, so.
Yes, but as we saw earlier tonight, there was a creature inside the transmitter.
A spider.
Some kind of spider crab, and we've had a discussion with somebody else who's not here. And that, to me, to see that is really very important. To see somebody, a drawing of it is very important. So clearly this is something which is really important in terms of information, in terms of intelligence. You see, when you actually talk on a microphone, or you play music on a microphone, or you put it into a computer, or you put it over the radio waves, those radio waves are mechanical, electrical oscillations which transmit a frequency. But we have our essence in that, in a different type of information domain.
Your information was more important than the goo.
This stuff seemed to be there with it. Whatever was coming out of the BBC produced this stuff in the transmitters. Whatever we were doing in pirate radio, the transmitters would not work.
Yeah, but still, it was your program, and you were able to annihilate this.
In order for the transmitters to work, that stuff had to be clear.
Harald, did you get in touch with the goo personally?
Yes, we received many different samples of Earth type black goo and of
about it, because people ask, how does he know about the black goo? Did he touch it or test it or make experiments with that?
From my side, the thing just came to me. I didn't ask for it, I didn't research for it. Just over half a year, 3-4 different sources knocked on my door, told me, we've got something to show you.
After publications or?
No, before. It just came out of nowhere. So this is one part, but there's one very interesting point, because I can tell you how this works with BBC. Because of the natural state, if you take the Earth-type black goo, it is building up the ley line system, And whenever you have northern lights, the information field within the black goose, so in other words, the being that is our planet, it travels electromagnetic fields. Normally it is like this, it is within the ley lines, and whenever you have northern lights on this cone of plasma discharge and the electromagnetics, the spirit of the planet travels and builds up an apple-like structure in outer space. The same thing you can imagine with the transmitters of BBC. If you put the substance directly onto the transmitter, the spirit within the substance travels on the electromagnetic waves, building up the apple-like structure within the transmission area of the radio station. So this is kind of a way to abuse the radio station to build up the contact to other species that are within the range of the radio station.
My encounter with the black goo in terms of the Falkland Islands was when David Griffin, we interviewed him, and he had dealt with a New Zealand author called Alec Newell, who went to jail for 10 years to suppress him from talking about the Falkland Islands and this black goo that the British had discovered with some blue grey ETs. There are greys which are green greys, white greys and blue greys. And the narrative is, the understanding is that they were working, the Argentinians were working with these greys, these blue greys, in an island called Thule Island in the South Georgia Island Sea, the group of called South Georgia. And the British got this stuff and bring it back to England. That was a major war trophy for the British in the early 1980s.
How would you explain scientifically the thing with black goo? This is nanomaterial?
No. Yes and no. The first thing you need to understand